Welcome to Be Me with Shari Ware, the podcast where each day is a step towards a better you and where we focus on progress, not perfection. Join me as we embark on a journey of self-improvement and wellness, focusing on being just a little better than we were yesterday. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Be Me podcast. My name is Shari Ware. I'm your host. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about identity. Is your identity helping you or hindering you? Is it holding you back? So what is identity and why is it important? So your identity is what you believe about yourself to be true. It's the way that you perceive yourself, the labels that you give yourself. When you have the voice inside your head that says I am, and whatever you put after those words, that is your identity. Now, most of us have a conscious identity. We believe ourselves to be a certain way. That doesn't always match up with our subconscious identity. And your subconscious identity is the one that plays a major part in your behaviour. So this is actually part 6 of a 6-part series called Why Do You Do What You Do? And it's really important that we understand how our subconscious identity can impact our behaviour. So Tony Robbins said that the strongest force in the human personality is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. What does that mean? So if you believe something about yourself to be true, you will behave in a way that is congruent, that matches how you see yourself to be. So if you are consciously, if you have a conscious identity about yourself to be true and you're behaving in that way, that's great. However, if your subconscious identity does not match your conscious identity, then this is when self-sabotage is going to kick in. This is when your nights are going to take over and perform the coup. And this is when it doesn't matter what you try to do, you will not be successful in doing what you're trying to achieve, in trying to make the change that you're trying to make, because you are not being congruent with your subconscious identity. So what's an example of how this can play out in your life? Well, think about, and there's been many instances of this in the world, people make health changes. They make changes for their health. They might change what they're eating, or they might start to move more. Whatever it be, they make a change to improve their health, and they are able to keep that change up for a number of years. But at some point, something happens and they go back to their old habits. And they might stop moving if it was adding movement into their life, or they might start going back to their old habits with their eating if it was changing their eating. And that's because, or could be because, in a lot of cases, it's because they didn't actually change their subconscious identity. So when they first started out on the path to making the change, for instance, let's say it's somebody who started to move more in their life. They were a couch potato, and then they said, nope, that's it. It's time to make a change. I need to be moving my body more. I want to be healthier. I'm going to start moving. They could have had a subconscious identity when they first started out on that journey that they were a couch potato, that they didn't like exercising, that they didn't like to move their body. If along the way of making the changes, their identity shifted and they started to identify subconsciously as somebody who does move their body regularly, somebody who does enjoy exercise, then they're more likely going to be able to continue the change for the rest of their life. However, if as they're making the change in their life, even if it's a couple of years down the track, if their subconscious identity has not shifted and they still subconsciously identify as being a couch potato, as being somebody who doesn't like to move their body, then chances are, as soon as something happens to derail them, they will go back to their old habits, and because that's how they consciously identify themselves. The good thing is it's not necessarily about changing your identity. It's actually about expanding your identity. And how do you do that? By doing something congruent with who you have decided to become. By keeping doing those things and having that conscious conversation with your subconscious brain, because awareness is always the first step. Once you become aware that this could be something playing out in your life, that's always the first step. And then you can have the conscious conversation with your subconscious brain to get it on board, to get your knights on board with helping you make the change, to expand and shift and mold that subconscious identity that you have for yourself into what you want it to be. Because as you know, when your overprotective parent brain wrapping you in bubble wrap tries to stop you from pushing out of your comfort zone, it can be really challenging. But when you're aware of what's going on, it makes it easier to push outside of your comfort zone, to have that conversation with your overprotective parent brain and say, thank you, I know you're trying to keep me safe and protected. This is something that's actually going to be really good for us. We're not going to die. It's okay. And the more that you keep doing that and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, the more your comfort zone expands and the easier things will become. Again, there is an edition of Be Me Bites, Be Me Bites number 8, Why Do You Do What You Do, part 6. I always refer people back to the written editions, because different things come out in the videos. I put different things a lot of the time into the written edition, and I also put extra resources that could be helpful for you if this is something that applies to you and something that you want to delve into deeper. And I'll remind you of the ethical bribe that I give everybody who subscribes. You can grab a free online copy of any one of my books, and when you subscribe, you get an email to tell you how to claim that gift. So that's it for this episode of the Be Me podcast, and I will see you on the next episode. See ya. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.